Hello and welcome to the Cricket Show. Today is an Eoin Morgan special, and Nasser and I caught up with him on Wednesday. Eoin, how are you? First of all, how's the hand and whereabouts are you in the world at the moment?
I'm good, thanks, Geezy. I'm in Mumbai at the moment, obviously joining up for the IPL with the Knight Riders pre-tournament. We're having a camp in Mumbai. So I suppose change of venue, change of scenery, change of energy, which is good. The hand is progressing nicely. I get my stitches out tomorrow and then we'll start batting again the following few days and then fielding before the first game. So looking forward to it.
So do you reckon you'll be fine for that first game, or is it touch and go?
I think the progression of how the next week goes will determine whether I'm fit for the first game or not. Certainly with the time frame that I have, all of the medical staff are backing me to be fit, but that's just without a reoccurrence of any issues.
Okay, sounds perfect. You can almost miss the pre-season, just have a bat, then get straight into the games. But anyway, it's my ideal thing. Right, let's have a quick look back. How do you assess the white ball series, both of them, the T20 and the 50 over leg of that tour of India you've just done? How do you assess how it went?
I think both of them went really well. I think T20s in particular, when you look at the results, the competition, the venue that we played at, and the parameter of time that we have between now and the World Cup, it's ideal because we played against one of the best sides in the world, made mistakes, competed, won some games. And now have some time to actually go and work on those mistakes and try and improve our skills before we come back here in October, November for the T20 World Cup. When you isolate the ODIs separately, I think we have to, we didn't play that well. As a batting unit, actually, we were very average, but we still managed to win one out of the two games. And if we'd have played well, certainly I believe that we would have won the series. But India are an extremely strong team at home.
In comparison to the 50 over World Cup, 7 months out, how would you compare where you're at now? And what areas would you like to improve on? What are the areas, not of concern, but areas you have to look at?
Yeah, I think we're in a completely different position, Nas. I think the 50 over World Cup, a lot of our success and confidence was built at home. Our record was impeccable. Guys were extremely confident in our home conditions. And there was a different feel about it because when you're preparing for a World Cup abroad, there are a number of different variants that you want to try and expose the team to or expose individuals to in order to try and unravel things before they actually become unstuck at the World Cup. I think one benefit that we've had is the experience of going through to the final in 2016. The side hasn't changed a great deal since then, and that's been great because it's meant that a lot of the guys have gained experience by playing the majority of games and had success and built confidence against international teams around the world. But I think when you look at our preparation for 2019, a lot of our numbers going into that tournament, or even 6-7 months out, we're so far ahead of everybody else in the world that actually on any given day, if we played well, we should win. And the attitude or experience of the T20 side is a little bit different. We're probably not as well equipped in all areas and have all areas covered. We're still, almost chasing the pack a little bit in regards to India and possibly Australia, but we haven't played a lot against Australia in similar conditions out here. We played against them at home and away, and yes, it's a good challenge, but these conditions out here are completely different. So I'd say, yeah, different case scenario, but further ahead in 2018.
One of the things that seemed to be giving you the biggest headache was you have high quality players. I'm talking about the batting lineup in T20, but it's to try and get them in the right order without leaving a load of left-handers in the middle order and using the power play and finding a place for Ben Stokes. Was that causing you a headache? Is it causing you a headache?
No, not at all. it's a little bit like selection. You know, you can only play 11 players. When you have 15 fantastic players that could all play to international standard, it's a luxury. I think is the challenge for us is piecing it together, and piecing that top 6, 7 together is, you know, we're going to get better at it as we go along, because guys become more and more comfortable and aware of their strength and positions that they bat. So say, you know, fantastic players of the new ball and attacking players naturally will go up the order. But if you have somebody who's unbelievably strong at spin and has a really high strike rate, you can manipulate that down the order, which we've done a little bit with Johnny Bairstow. You know, his record against spin has been incredible. It really is, and doesn't need a lot of time to get himself in. So again, adapting to him batting at 4 has actually worked really well for us. They're trying to find a 5 and a 6 where guys are happy in different roles that you can fulfill. It's going to take time, because I think as things evolve a little bit, like in the ODI team pre-World Cup, where we'd move Joss Buttler up and down the order, just given any circumstance to try and have his biggest impact in the game. We're going to try the same with myself, Ben, and Johnny. So it's something that we went through while we were here. Didn't necessarily work because we didn't play that well in the T20s. But no plan works well if you don't play well. So yeah, it's going to be an evolving, sort of flexible, versatile sort of middle order.
So you have to be fluid then. So you might be prepared to go in at 3, 4, wherever it is, or the same Ben Stokes. So that you're almost at the point, are you then, where you've all got your pads on and you look for that matchup and it's right, bang, Stokes, in you go.
Yeah, I don't think it's as complex or as complicated as that. I think going into the game, the majority of your work and your matchups are done, so that a player is well aware of who is better. It's not relying on the coach or the captain. So best case scenario is, like, a lot of the time when we were comfortable with Joss jumping up and down the order and he had a lot of success doing it, he'd tap me on the shoulder and go, right, now I know, I've realized this is the time of the game where I'm the most effective, I should go next. And the same with Ben and Johnny. We're sort of sitting around, and if somebody comes on, you sort of strap your pads on, because you know your matchup is a lot better for you than possibly the other guy. And it's an interesting position to be in, because in sides that I've played in before, when it's happened, you're sort of looking around, and if you're the guy that's getting dropped down the order, you take a little bit of an offense to it. Whereas at the moment, we've so many good players, actually guys are going, yeah, well, actually he's way better at this than me, send him.
Where do you stand with Ben and Ben Stokes? I mean, he looks like he's trying to find a role in international T20 cricket. Batting at 6 is not easy. You go in with a few balls to go, 6 bowler at times. We saw in that second ODI the role and the impact he has up the order. Is that still flexible, Ben Stokes' role in your T20 side?
It's flexible in the fact that he can bat at 4, 5 or 6, Nas. We have so many guys that can bat in the top 3. It's not an area of concern at the moment. I think it's actually one of our strongest suits. And Ben is just such a fantastic player that he will always continue to ask how to get better and how to improve. And he will naturally evolve into this unbeatable superstar over the course of his career. And I suppose when you look at it from the outside, or even playing with Ben, you do always ask yourself the question, what is the best either position to bat, place to bowl, position to field? Because he can have an impact on the game at any given stage. And we've had questions like that over Joss at times, where he's to bat, his role and what he's to play. But ultimately within the game, you need a strong top 6. You don't win matches in the first 10 overs, you win them in the next 10. So yes, your top order, if a guy is in and going past 10 overs, you're at a huge advantage in winning the game statistically, and having a strong lower or middle order to come in and back that up is massive.
I've always been about Joss batting in that floating sort of role, but am I being old-fashioned in that? Is it now the case that Joss Buttler, his record, everything that he's done, he's just going to open for you guys now?
Well, I think the more opportunity we've given Joss, the better he's got. And very similar instance to Ben. The guys just keep getting better and better and better. So it's our responsibility and the team's responsibility to present opportunity for them in the biggest moments in the game. And obviously the two of them will be opening for Rajasthan this year in the IPL. So that's going to be great to watch. But in a team where you have your two superstars opening the batting, as an opposition, I'm thinking, well, better start well here. So when it comes back to our batting lineup, you have to have that strength and depth in all areas in order to win the game. If you stick your two best players in at the top, you're heavily weighted and throwing all your chips in one area of the game, as opposed to trying to space it out and then watching the game unravel and then trying to get your best players in the most important part of the game on that day.
Talked a lot about the batting. What did you make of your bowling efforts in the T20? You probably wished you'd had a couple more slow, low pitches. I think that's what you were craving. But what did you make of it overall?
Yeah, I think it was pretty good. I think the biggest improvement for us was our bowling in the T20. It's been an area of concern probably for the last 2 years. Our power play bowling and trying to take wickets. We haven't necessarily gone for absolute stacks of runs, but we haven't managed to take wickets during that early period. Trying Adil Rashid at the beginning gave us a different option and a different threat. And it made Adil, take it all in his stride and as a spinner, if you're ever told to bowl in the power play, Keezy, the reputation spinners have, they normally just chuck the ball back at you and say nah. But the attitude in which he shows and the skill level he produced, particularly in that first game, was outstanding. But I think definitely our power play bowling has improved and got better. And I think when you look at the pitches that we played on, they weren't any surprise to us. We played on, say, 160, 180, 200, 220 type of wickets. But we already know that we can play those sorts of games. And if we play well, we can win. The area of exposure for us, we would have liked to be exposed is probably a low scoring game. At home, we don't get to experience that a lot in the Blast or in international cricket. So I think moving forward, it's again going to be a continuous learning process of when you are exposed on these sorts of wickets, trying to gain as much information as possible and then use that in your own individual way to improve your game.
I'd love to pick your brain.
Sorry, go on now.
I'd love to pick your brain, Eoin, on captaincy and gut feel and matchups, really. You probably use the analysts quite a bit. And like Hardik Pandya, Krunal Pandya, we did a thing, a grid. Athos did a really good grid of where you bowl to Hardik Pandya above waist high. But if you keep doing that in a series or over a course of a career, he probably gets better at playing the ball, or in a Darwinian way, he just fades away. So do you think that, like in that last game when he keeps belting it, do you think there has to be a sort of bit of gut feel, this isn't working today, we need to change your plans, or do you stick to that plan, whatever?
I don't think you can stick to it, whatever. I think the plans are always evolving, and like any either modes of dismissal or high run scoring areas for a batter, they work in trends. I mean, nobody plays the same as they do at the start of their career in white ball cricket to the end, saying, you know what, he didn't have to change a thing. He played, on drives or cut shots the whole time. And it wouldn't be very smart of the opposition to continue bowling in the same area. So you can take Hardik, for example. So you look at the strengths of his game, which we did pre-series, and he's excellent at hitting with a straight bat towards the end, down the ground. And actually, as a bowler, your margin for error is so small that not risking, but planning to bowl, to be hit with a crossback gave you a better chance of actually getting him out and reducing his strike rate. And it worked majority of the time. He played a couple of good shots, but you're talking about a world-class player that we managed to keep quiet for the majority of the tour that we've been here.
go back to the batting, Morgs, and in the media, I mean, you might not be aware of it, but Dawid Malan, who's the #1 ranked batsman in the world in international T20s, but still people question whether he should be in the side. Do you sort of ignore all of that? Do you pay any mind to it? And Dawid Malan's just #3? Or have you got so many options, you're still not absolutely certain on that top 3?
No, I pay absolutely no attention to it. It's definitely not the mood in the camp. The mood in our camp is that Dawid is the #1 batsman in the world, the highest ranked #1 player of all time, which is an incredible achievement given the names that have been #1 player in the world. And looking at the way that he played and the manner in which he has played since he's come into the side, it truly has been incredible, because I've played with Dawid for a very long time. And to see him get even better than he's performed in a Middlesex shirt and in a Yorkshire shirt is both great to see, but it adds a huge amount of value to an already very strong batting line.
What do you also have when you look? You've got quite a lot of cricket coming up. It's quite good actually for white ball as far as international and domestic, and you've got the IPL. What do you want to see from, what can domestic players, what can the squad that you're looking at, all those players on the periphery, what do you want to see from them this summer?
Yeah, I think anybody that's involved in games outside of our team at the moment, you always challenge them to go and be the best player in the tournament, no matter where they're playing. And that, for a batter or a bowler, means having the highest impact in the game. It doesn't necessarily mean being the highest run scorer. It means affecting the game in a way that can change the course of the game. So you're looking for match winners, guys that can take wickets in the 3 phases of the game, or players that can take the game away from the opposition with the bat.
I mean, going back to the 50 over stuff, you stayed true to your word, didn't you? I mean, you lost that first game with a bit of a collapse, and you stood up in that presentation and said to Murali Kartik, "This is the way we play." You left no one with any doubt that the style of 50 over cricket and the brand that you've played would not be doubted.
No, I think that's actually really important. The reason that we play, the reason that we have the mantra and the way that we play is because it works, and it goes beyond bilateral series. It means you're genuine contenders to beat any side in the world on any given day. And for me, that means you come into a World Cup actually with a lot more confidence that you can do that. You have a style of play that actually teams don't like playing against. Now, being good enough to try and make all of that happen is a different challenge. And on that day, we weren't good enough to play to our mantra. I openly said that I thought India were in and around the par score. So if we play well, we comfortably chase that down. And if we play extremely well, we do it at a canter. The challenge for us moving forward, particularly when the World Cup is 3 years away, is trying to improve and gain consistency in the way that we want to play. And for us, that is playing an aggressive, positive, smart brand of cricket. On that day, for instance, we probably lacked a bit of smarts. But within the side, guys know when they mess up or make mistakes and quickly identify it by honest reviewing or honest feedback and try and improve from there. And again, going into the second game, there was a marked improvement on the first game.
Sure was. I mean, some of the hitting from Bairstow and Stokes was quite incredible. They had your words ringing in their ears. If I can take it on to that third game, and I know the result would have been disappointing, but it is incredible after all the bubble life and quarantine, which you're still in, for 22 cricketers to put on a show like they did in that last 50 over game. Speaks sort of volumes for the modern cricketer and what they can achieve nowadays.
Yeah, I totally agree. To produce such a highly competitive game for both sides, given the circumstances for the last year, was exceptional. And I actually think a big part of that is having the policy that we have at the moment around rest and rotation of players. Obviously, there's a huge risk of burnout for any player, both physically and mentally. with the schedule and how jam-packed it is. But, you know, a testament to how highly skilled that last game was. You know, it really does pay huge dividends when guys get a small bit of time away from or with their family, and then come back in re-energized. And at no stage it compromises the standard and skill that was produced. And I think the third ODI was a great example of that.